Good job today, man. It's one at a time, and we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
And the home of the Jets.
Good evening, everybody. Happy bye-week Monday. Thank you for everybody that's been joining us. You have a very special guest. When you ask to do an interview and the guy's like, yo, give me 3 or 4 weeks and I'll get back to you. That's when you know you have like an exclusive high-level analyst that you got to go deep in the wallet. Like, listen, bro, just give me an hour of your time. I know it's very valuable. And then Joe did me this huge favor, so I cannot be more appreciative, man.
Yeah, or I'm just really busy. I don't think it has anything to do with my level of analysis. But I appreciate it. And I think this is going to be an interesting chat based on the pre-show production. I am ready for the next hour or so, whatever we're going to be here. I'm definitely excited as always. I always enjoy our conversations.
I look forward to this every time we do this because the best thing about you is everybody tells me watch the tape. I'm not going to watch the tape. I watch the game. I react. You watch the tape and give like detailed analysis with like a lot of experience behind it where I'm like, all right, this is what he's saying. It's kind of what I look like I saw. I'm like, it's got to be close to being right, especially when you have years and years and years of in-depth Jets play. We know when we see it.
Yeah, man. It is not a fun job to be watching the film every week. I think I've been doing it for like 7 or 8 years and it's been miserable for the most part for all of it. So I really look forward to the times where I don't have to go back and watch because like it would be so easy to just turn the game off 4 o'clock and just live with the rest of my week. But like, no, now I have to go back the next day and spend 10, 12 hours breaking the game down and then do a podcast about it and then do a film show about it. It's like, oh my God. So it's been brutal, but I really am legitimately used to the pain at this point. So I'm just apathetic.
Yeah, and it's the only thing is I wish the Jets could play the Bengals every week because we'd feel so much better about the state of this team. But unfortunately, don't. So the analysis tonight is a comprehensive from the whole season, not just the one game where the Bengal game they look like they're a contending, rising team. So let's start with the offensive line because this was one where I was curious. Where you have 2 very young tackles, you have Membu, you have Olu, you have a first-time offensive coordinator, a first-time O-line coach. Where you're like, all right, how is this going to work out? How are they going to play? That's the anchor of your offense. And what has been your evaluation here, especially when they played Myers at center and Tippmann at guard, which is kind of a curveball for us as well.
I think they've been good. I'm sure you guys have talked about it. Obviously, having Fields who holds the ball for 8 seconds to drop back at times doesn't help the offensive line and the pressure numbers and all that stuff. So, people punch in PFF, offensive line rankings or whatever, and the Jets might be down some games, but it is hard when you have Justin Fields. I think everybody's pretty much lived up to expectations. John Simpson, I would say, has taken a little bit of a step back in year 3. I think Myers has exceeded expectations. I expected him to be a really low-end starter to a high-end backup, and he's been a little bit better than that, so kudos to him. I think Tippmann's been fine. Membu's been a beast for the most part. Like he's had his lumps in a game or two, but overall Membu's been very good. Obviously relative to expectations for him being a rookie. I would say the only guy who's really been disappointing a little bit is Fashanu. And there are some games where again Fields is holding the ball and it's not looking good for the pressure numbers for Fashanu. But there's reps where he's just legitimately losing one-on-one. It's been something I've been saying since quite literally his college tape was that he needs to change up his punch. He doesn't change up his punch a lot, and defenders time the punch. They know how to take advantage of his punch, bull rushing through the chest, all that stuff. So he's been a little bit disappointing, but I'm not like pulling out the panic meters on a 10 or anything like that with Fashion. I would say it's maybe like a 3, but they've been overall really, really good.
Now, when you see them giving up 6 sacks in a game or 9 sacks in a game, and it seems like, against running the ball, they seem the right, but pass defense, pass blocking seems like it's just, it's like a jailbreak sometimes where they face those more exotic blitzes from Todd Bowles or whoever else, Vance Joseph. What is it? Is it scheme? Is it play calling? Is it lack of communication? Where do you think they fall apart there?
Yeah, yeah. Again, a big part of that is the Justin Fields thing. I think 5 or 6 of those 9 sacks in that game were specifically on Justin Fields and not getting rid of the ball. So 2 or 3 of those sacks were probably legitimately on the offensive line. I remember Fashioner just got beat clean off the ball on one where he went to get into a 45-degree set, which is a little bit more of an aggressive set, and then he's like, "Oh shit, I have to throw this. I have to throw my ass back vertically." He couldn't do it quick enough. There's been some breakdowns. I think part of it is you're moving guys around. Right, Myers is new here. Tittman's new to right guard. You have Membu, who's a rookie. You have Fashioner, who's probably at his like 12th start at left tackle or something like that at this point, whatever exactly the number is. So you have a new offensive line coach with a bunch of new players who haven't played those positions. So I don't want to scapegoat them and say they haven't struggled a little bit more than I've wanted to see them at times in terms of like stunts and things like that. But overall, I'm not discouraged by it. They've definitely been better in the run game, but overall they're going to be completely fine. They're still quite a good unit.
It's an early sample size, but would you keep Tittman at guard going into next year? Or do you like the way he's playing there, or you say move him back to center? I wouldn't bring ABT back unless someone sent him late in deal and then everybody else behind him. But how would you handle Tittman going forward?
Yeah, I think he offers you like true flexibility where he could play either one. If you get a really good deal on a guard where that is ABT, hey, $5 million in incentives, then okay. If Simpson wants to come back, then okay, move him back to center. I think the level of play has been about the same from right guard to center. The only thing that you really eliminate when you move him to the right guard spot is the bad snapping from Tittman. We saw that once this year. I forget what game that was. I think it's the Miami Dolphins game where he had one really bad snap and then Breece Hall kind of he just grabbed it off the ground and ran it. But past that, we really haven't seen bad snaps. So maybe it's a little bit more advantageous to play my right guard just because of that. But overall, I think he offers you true flexibility. Again, depending on what free agency, what happens in free agency offers in the draft, I think he can move either side. It's or center or guard. It doesn't really matter.
All right, so you have the offensive line, which has been somewhat of a positive, a lot of encouraging things. Then you want to be ground to pound. So you got to look at the running backs. Then you look immediately to Breece Hall, who is now a lightning rod, where before the Bengal game, everybody's like, trade him for a 3rd or 4th round pick. We're cool with it. Now he has a big game. Like, no, he's a building block. You got to keep him. You got to pay him. You got to tag him. Yeah. What do you see out of Breece? Because it's weird with Breece. It seems to me he's like inconsistent. You see some games like last week or 2 weeks ago. Then there's some where he looks a little bit slow, not breaking tackles, not hitting the right hole. How would you evaluate Breece Hall?
Yeah, like that Cowboys play where he broke to the right sideline. That's a play probably his rookie year where he brings it home for 6. So I think he's lost some explosion. I think he's more explosive than he was last year. That's for sure. Last year, and we talked about it, I'm sure, in the offseason, he was just not good at all last year. Like I'm not even saying not even relative to Breece Hall standards. It was relative to just being a starting running back. He was a lower tier starting running back last year. I think this year he's been plus average to solid. So I think he's lost some explosion, and he was always that guy. Even at Iowa State, he was a guy who would get you 280. He was never a guy who would get you 5. This is just not the type of running back he is. He can bounce it sometimes instead of being a little bit more consistent between the tackles and things like that. But overall, yeah, I think he's been plus average. And in terms of like the signing him or trading him, I think it's really about having a conversation, right? Like I think people like to take such hard stances on one side or the other, but when you're more of like a fence sitter, it just doesn't make sense to people. But realistically, we don't know what's happening behind the in the meeting rooms, right? Or behind closed doors. It's like if they went to Breece Hall and said, "Hey, dude, we want to sign you for 2 years, $24 million a year," and he's like, "No, screw New York. I hate this place. I want to go play in state tax-free Texas or Florida." Then he may want to do that, and then you trade him. So it's a thing. I think it's a thing where you go and speak to him about an extension, and if he's not interested in an extension, then you're more leaning towards trading him for the right price. I think the franchise tag is $13.5 million for running backs. So it's a little bit over what you want to pay him. I think you're kind of looking at like the James Cook type contract, like around $11-12 million a year, even though James Cook is probably proven a little bit more and is less injury prone. So I'm hoping for Breece around 10-11. If the Jets offered him $2.5 million, like I'm not going to lose my shit over it completely, just being transparent. But I would approach him and ask if he's interested in playing here. If he's not, then adios for what we can get you for. But if you're willing to sign here for a year or two, then do it. Again, it's not the way I would necessarily do it, but with that being said, a young quarterback coming in next year, I want to surround him with the absolute most talent we can. And if that's overpaying Breece by $2 million, then it's overpaying Breece by $2 million because I want to not screw up the next quarterback, preferably.
So you're okay with that? Like, see, that's my kind of where my dilemma is. Like, I don't want to tag him. I don't want to allocate that much money. I'd rather either get a deal done or trade him because the Jets have a lot of holes. I'm sure we'll talk about throughout the show. A lot of holes. You got to spend money in other places that are very important. Where it's like, do you want to allocate that money to a running back position? Like, is he like you mentioned James Cook? I think James Cook's a much better player than Brees, but because Brees has been so inconsistent, and we see glimpses, we don't see enough. Like you don't see it week in and week out. But it could be your quarterback blows and all these other things he's dealing with too, where he's not like you put Brees Hall in the Bills. Is he a much better player? That's kind of like it's the argument going back and forth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. In terms of the yards per carry and stuff, he would get more just because teams stack the box against the Jets. There's 7, 8, 9 guys in there because Justin Fields can't get rid of the ball and they blitz the hell out of us. So it doesn't help us, and that's why we struggled versus teams like the Cowboys and Carolina, even the Dolphins a little bit, because even if those defenses suck, if you blitz the house, you don't have enough guys to block them, and Justin Fields can't get rid of the ball quickly. So it is tough. So I think Brees would produce more elsewhere if, obviously, considering the offensive line is solid and the quarterback is decent. So I'm more of a fence sitter on Brees because I recognize that he's an above average running back, but do I think he's worth $13-14 million a year? Probably not. Again, I'm not going to lose it over $2 million. Right. So if it's 2 years, 24, 22, that's kind of what I'm hoping for Brees. They have about $70 million in cap space. So I don't think $11 million is going to completely hamstring them from adding some talent to the team, and you still have the draft. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think anything less than a fourth, I'm almost more willing to just ride it out for the rest of the season and hope that you can kind of like establish a culture, even though that's a lot deeper of a conversation. Because I don't think 1 or 2 wins necessarily does that for you, but Brees is a guy who, guys in the locker room like, and you don't want to upset them. Obviously, they've already been kind of ticked off and stuff with the losing and then Woody Johnson comments, which I'm sure we'll get into. So trading Brees, one of their own, may piss them off a little bit. So it's an interesting conversation, but we have 4 o'clock tomorrow, I think. So we got like 21 hours, 20 hours, whatever it is, to figure out if Brees is traded. I'm kind of the approach. Hey, approach him and ask if he wants a contract extension for a reasonable price. If he doesn't, adios. That's kind of where I'm at.
Like what you're mentioning, a 2-year deal sounds great to me, but I'm thinking Brees is like, I need to make the money. I want my 5-year deal. I want my 4-year deal. That's where I'm kind of like, you know what? I get what you want. I get what you think you deserve. I'm not sure I go there. Like, I wouldn't piss me off. I wouldn't be mad as hell. But I'm just like, I can see where you can make a case. But you also made a point that I was kind of interested with too, is with tomorrow at the trade deadline is losing the locker room. If you're preaching, we want to compete week in and week out. We want to do all these things. And then you go ahead and trade Quinn. Well, we'll talk about Quinn later. You go ahead and trade Brees Hall, leaving yourself with Isaiah Davis. I think it's Khalil Herbert and whoever else. Is the locker room like, dude, that's our best player on offense. What are you doing? You're preaching this, but now he's gone. Or at the end of the year, you don't resign him. It's the same thing, really. It's just in season. Like, how do you worry that much about the locker room impact making a choice like this?
Yeah. It's hard to know because like there's after the last win, everybody looked so excited for Glenn and all pumped up. But then like you watch, what week was the Cowboys game? Was that week 4 or 5? You have Jamie and Sherwood just completely quitting on the tight end screen. It's 0-0 and he's not even running to tackle Jake Ferguson. So it makes me question the dedication. But at other times they look super dedicated. So I don't really know. And Glenn, and this is a whole other conversation. I think Glenn has to still even win some games. Like, at this point, does he trade Brees Hall, his best running back at this point? Obviously, I think Braylon Allen muddies up that situation as well, because then you just have Isaiah Davis, who I honestly thought Isaiah Davis had a better rookie season than Braylon Allen. So I actually like Isaiah Davis more. But nonetheless, you'd have Isaiah Davis and Khalil Herbert blowing up the locker room. And then also on top of that, it's a thing where like, I think the Jets would lean towards keeping Glenn, even if he didn't win any more games. In my book, the way he started off the first 7-8 weeks of the season, and if he loses all the rest of the games, I'm not a proponent of bringing him back after 1 year. I'm not saying fire him now, but if the Jets finish 1-16 with the talent 1-16 with the talent on this team, I don't trust him to then, you just go develop that new quarterback. It's like the last 3 quarterbacks who were drafted, the number 1 overall pick, all their coaches were fired like mid-season or after their first season. So I'm not like, I have no faith in you based off what you did in year 1. Let's just give you year 2 and see what happens. And then have to maybe go back and kind of redevelop that quarterback because he has half a season, off season, all this stuff with the staff who's not going to be there. So like, if I don't have faith in him, like confident, not even some semblance of faith, if I don't have confidence in him moving forward after his rookie campaign as a head coach, then I would move on. Obviously, we'll see what happens the rest of the season. But if it looks like it did the first 8 weeks, I can't side the dotted line. I just can't. So he may be in a position where it's like, hey, I have to win to keep my job at this point because of how bad it's been.
Yeah, I mean, it's been historically bad. Like we've talked about this many times where it's like, listen, our expectations were so low going into the season, and they were actually underneath those expectations, which to me was alarming. Like we'll get the defense later. So staying on offense, Brees, interesting conversation. What are your thoughts on Mason Taylor, man? Because everybody's really excited about him. And then you look at, thankfully, he's coming on, the last couple games, but the offense has been so stagnant. The passing game is blown due to Fields. But it seems like you're seeing good things out of him in blocking, route running, his hands. What are your early impressions of him?
I'm a stickler, and I've been very excited about Mason Taylor. That block last week, I forget exactly what the play was. I think it's just like outside zone or whatever it was. It might have been the Brees. I don't know if it was a breach. I don't think it was a Brees touchdown. Maybe like a Brees like 25, 30-yard run, but couldn't have blocked better in that instance. Now that he's a little bit iffy with his blocking, but he's been better than I expected him to out of college. Every catch he makes is contested. It's crazy. Like even if he has 5 catches for 35 yards, 4 of those 5 are very hard catches. Like even in the Panthers game, I went back and I think I did a video on him. Like multiple of his checkdowns, they were only 2, 3, 4, 5 yards, but all of them were like outside of his frame, linebacker hanging on his back. The catch, obviously with the Brees Hall pass, jumping up, late hands, timing it perfectly, pulled it away. Like there's so many little nuances to how he did that are so impressive to me that you don't see from a rookie. Again, really late hands. Obviously, the later hands are, the less of a chance the DB has to react to it. Yep. And then another thing, if you actually go back and watch their replay, what DBs are taught to do, and when they're beat over their head, they're going to play through the arms. So obviously, if the ball is in your hands and he plays through the arms, you go to pull it down. That hand naturally knocks that ball out. So Mason Taylor, instead of pulling it down, pulled it out and away. Just little things that he did to make that play work were really impressive. Been good as a blocker, contested catching, blocking's been a bigger positive than I thought it would be. So I know his stats aren't crazy. He may only finish with 500-600 yards, but for a second round rookie, I've been legitimately very excited about Mason Taylor. I think he's going to be a legit tight end one for the Jets.
And one of my biggest complaints has been a tight end position as a whole, where you had Ruckert, Stone Smart, who's just invisible at this point. What is your take on Ruckert, man? Have you seen more in the blocking? Is he developing as a player where he can be bring him back for like a number 2 like next year?
Yeah, surprisingly, right? Because we all hated Ruckert a couple of months ago, and obviously we root for him because like Long Island kid or Staten Island or whatever. So I think it's Long Island, but he's been I would say a solid tight end too so far. Like last week, he was on a D end one play for like 4 seconds isolated blocking him on a big play for Justin Fields. Like, again, I forget exactly what it was because it was over a week ago. But he's been fine. He's been catching the ball. I wouldn't be comfortable. Like, am I being nitpicky and being like, hey, I want to be tight end 3? Like he's been so bad in the past that a couple of games doesn't make him tight end 2 to me. So I would say tight end $3 million, $1.5 million a year, something like that. I'm cool with it. I would still want a little bit more of a proven commodity at tight end 2. If it happened, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world because I don't think the Jets are going super far next year either. But I would re-sign him tight end 3, then hope you get somebody else. I don't know what the hell happened to Stone Smart. I expect him to see him as like a big receiver, and they brought in Jelani Woods, and I haven't seen him one time, so I would like to see him get something because he's a freak of nature. But I'm comfortable with Mason Taylor going forward as tight end 1. Tight end 2, give me a little bit more. I guess I'm being a little bit needy, but Ruckert just hasn't proven enough necessarily.
So now you go in the wide receiver group, which we talked about this team before the season, where the depth at wide receiver is bothersome. They took a conservative approach with Reynolds and Tyler Johnson and counting on Arian Smith, and they had Gibson at the time. And now you look at it where it's injuries. Josh Reynolds has been hurt. Arian Smith's not really doing much. What do you think about the group, man? Because it's just, you want to give Fields the best chance to succeed, but after Garrett Wilson, it's a lot of guys like Isaiah Williams played great last week, but then you also the Bengals defense is absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
How do you evaluate the group, man?
Yeah, no, you give him credit. The passes he caught, the defense just wasn't matching him. Like he was wide open. It's not like he did anything just like overly impressive. His first game against the Dolphins was historically, I don't know if I've ever seen a worse game. Like you're taught, like there's things in Pee Wee football that he was doing that he was messing up on. Again, don't fair catch a ball within the 10. Oh. If it's like a late game situation, you're down 13 points with 4 minutes left and you want to try to make a play. I understand it, but awful play there. The one kick returner is a kick return. He fumbled. Mm-hmm. he saved it from going out of bounds. It's not like he just fumbled. He saved it from going to the 40. And then there's another play. I think it was the next week. I think Nania brought it up. He's like, he saved the ball from going into the end zone. He could have had it at the 35. He brought it out to the 22, just negative 13 yards on that return. Like, what are you doing? So he was awful. Give him credit. He stepped up last week. Again, the Bengals are atrocious. Like I would have liked to see it versus a better defense. I'll just be honest. It's not like, oh, the Jets did so much good. The Bengals are just really that bad. Give the Jets some credit, but you have to acknowledge that the Bengals are legitimately the worst defense in the NFL right now, and it's not even really close if you look at all the numbers and stuff. It was a spot that we all complained about in the offseason, realistically, right? I think every content creator did, because Josh Reynolds was your receiver 2. I would say right now it's probably Tyler Johnson's your second best receiver. There's not enough there, though. That's obviously a position that next year you need to bring in receiver 2 and 3, in my opinion. I don't think they have either one of them on the roster. So they neglected it, and it's obviously hurt them a little bit throughout the season. Do more there, and that's Muji's been decent, like looking at all of his moves and all that stuff, and some of the guys in the draft, but the miss, I would say, even at tight end, just going into the season, process versus results, I don't like exactly what they went into the season with. Receiver and then DN depth was a spot where we were like, what the hell? And then even late into the season too, the offseason was defensive tackle. Like, hey, who the hell is here? And then they had to trade for guys. I'm like, yeah, thank God they traded for guys, because what would it be like if they didn't have those guys? But the receiver group is severely lacking. You only have one legit receiver, and it's Garrett Wilson.
Dude, we literally talked about it. We did like the whole season preview. We literally talked about the glaring concerns we had. It was like tight end, wide receiver depth, like all the things were so predictable. That's what made it so frustrating. We're like, you're one Garrett Wilson injury away from being in trouble. You're one Jermaine Johnson injury away from, like, all the things, and it all came to fruition, which makes me crazy. But we went through most of the offense. Now we go to the name Justin Fields, where I'll be honest, I like the Jets' approach. Like, you know what? Take a chance on him, man. Young kid, ton of athletic ability. You build the offense around him. Let him use his athletic skills, his arms, his legs. Just let it rip and see what happens. We've seen that for 2 games, and then we've seen a lot of really bad football, man, where I was, me, dude, I go off the rails to begin with, but I was like, I'm done. I don't want to see another pass ever again. Tyrod Taylor, Brady Cook, go get somebody. I don't care what it is, but I'm tired of watching it. Before we go into Justin Fields, do you think does the play calling hinder him, and we talked about receivers just now. Does that hurt him as well? Is he behind the 8 ball to begin with, or is it some of this brought on by himself, by his holding onto the ball too long and everything else?
Oh, he's definitely the main culprit. He's not the only culprit, but he's definitely the main culprit, no doubt. Not getting rid of the ball. That Broncos game is one of the worst games you'll ever see from a quarterback. Steelers game, he looked, obviously he looked okay. This last game, he looked fine as well, but all the other stuff other than that has been pretty terrible from Justin Fields. And the receivers obviously don't help him. And there's some stuff with Engstrom. I think he improved on this a little bit last week. There's some tendencies that he's been having or holding on to through 7 games, which he doesn't really break, and teams notice that stuff. So teams are starting to notice tendencies and combat them a little bit.
Is it like no screen passes and no play action pass? Is that
and part of the play action too is Justin Fields. I don't think he's confident in himself reading a defense quick enough. So he short changes every single play action, and teams just don't bite on it. Like if you and nobody's ever going to do this, but go back. I almost want to make a cut up. He is always like yay far away from the running back when he's heading play action. He's not even close. So teams are like, "What? I'm not gonna bite on this run right now," Yeah. So, but no, it's the lack of screens. It's bringing in Max Mitchell. And like every single time you bring in Max Mitchell, you're running it, and then teams know that. The lack of creativity on 4th down from Tanner Engstrom has been a little bit frustrating. And then with Justin Fields, people say read option and read option and RPO, and they lump them in together, and they're completely different. So maybe like, oh, do more read option or RPOs. He needs to run more. It's like that's not what an RPO is, but nonetheless. The problem with Fields is, and it annoys me about Aaron Glenn, because when he was teetering on the fence about benching Justin Fields or not benching Justin Fields comes out and says he has a contusion on his leg, and his one and only superpower is that he can run the ball. Perfect time for Aaron Glenn to say, hey, you're not healthy. You sit on the bench. You let Tyrod play the next week or 2. But instead, all the fighting with the media and all this stupid crap, I'm sure we'll talk about it, was frustrating. So if he doesn't have the superpower and running, then what the hell is Justin Fields? He's Zach Wilson without that he's Zach Wilson if he doesn't have his legs. Like that's just kind of what he is realistically. Not that exactly the same problems, but that level of quarterback if he can't run the ball. So that was frustrating. So we're not running a lot of read option because he can't run. And even read option, like he doesn't read option very well. And what I want to see more of, and Engstrand's been doing it the last 2 or 3 weeks, there's been more quarterback designed runs, not RPOs, not read option. I'm talking about counters. I'm talking about sweeps. I'm talking about draws. He's been doing more of that stuff. So that's been a positive. For the people saying RPO is you have to make very quick decisions in RPO, whether to hand the ball off, pass it, reading linebackers. Justin Fields does not make quick decisions. You do not want Justin Fields doing RPO. So let's cancel that out. And then part of the problem, and it's what fans have been saying too, is, hey, let's roll him out more. Let's roll him out more, which makes sense to a certain extent. The problem with rolling him out more is when teams are stacking 8 or 9 in the box, when they're blitzing guys off the edge, you're rolling out right into blitzes. So it's not as easy as people think it is to manage an offense around Justin Fields, especially if his legs aren't working the way he wants to. There's been a little bit of problems with Engstrand. There's been a little bit of receivers not getting open on some plays, but 85% of the problem, 80% of the problem is Justin Fields. And I agree with you. Like there's a way to talk about what they did in the offseason and recognize, okay, what they did was correct in the way of thinking, but Justin Fields has also failed, right? Like, I don't know if you remember, or if I even came on the show after they signed Fields, but I said it right off the jump. And it almost sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but what I said is Justin Fields, the chance he works out for the Jets long-term after this year is probably 5 to 10% chance. I said that right from the jump. People thought I was an idiot, whatever. I said 5 to 10%. But with that being said, he's the only guy in free agency who had that 5 to 10% chance of being a long-term option because everybody else was old and Darnold wasn't coming back. So I understood the risk. It hasn't worked out. It's not going to work out. He may be a backup next year if Woody can shut his mouth and they maybe win and he's not going to, chastise him or whatever. But so he's been 80% of the problem. Engstrand, a little bit of it. The receivers, a little bit of it, but have a good quarterback in here and they'll win more games than they are right now, obviously.
And I see when you have a first-time head coach, and this was the concern when you hire a first-time head coach, is the handling of the quarterback in this market with this media and this fan base. And for some reason, I felt like Aaron Glenn was like nurturing Justin Fields, protecting him, doing all these things. And I'm like, why, dude? It's not your top 3 draft pick. It's not a guy you're investing 5 years in. Like, you're not holding him accountable. And his play was a liability. We're like, I don't know how you could walk in front of your team in a locker room, like, all right, let's watch the tape now. And you watch his play, like, yep, that's my guy. He's playing next week. And the way that Glenn handled it, dude, to me spoke of immaturity. And it just seemed like he was tying his way into the wrong horse. Like, dude, this is not the battle you want to go down, right? It seemed strange to me. And now it's like, well, he bailed him out with the Bengal game where nobody wanted to see him play. Tyrod got hurt. And I was done with Justin Fields, completely done. Because you've seen enough, because your offense isn't being developed if you can't throw a fucking pass, right? You can't complete an 8-yard pass consistently. You can't run your offense, right? That's the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's so funny. I think we tweeted out literally the same thing. It's like only the Jets, like literally. And I tweeted it and I went to my homepage and you tweeted, I think you left, I think you added one more dot at the end of only the Jets. So it was nearly identical. But I was like, yeah, of course. It's just, as soon as he came out and said that stuff, it's like, one, you're not only making the job harder on Aaron Glenn to then go back to Justin Fields if he needs to, because you're coming out and saying you're the owner of the team is saying he doesn't want to see him, basically play. But then also on top of that, you already have a team who is losing a lot, not happy about it. And regardless of what Justin Fields is as a quarterback, everybody likes him as a person. So now you're alienating, like now you're making your players pissed off at you as well. Like you're just shut your mouth, Woody. Just please. He's only got to talk, of course, and that happens. But yeah, the problem with Glenn too is, and I'm sure we'll go more into him. I have plenty of things to say on Glenn. But the thing about it is like not holding him accountable. And it's like so funny that like the funniest thing about that is to me with Glenn, with the Justin Fields thing is he goes at Brian Costello like he has 3 heads for asking if he's going to bench him, and it only took him another half of football to then bench him. So how crazy was that question? Like what are you doing, Aaron Glenn? And the only thing you have to say is like to the media, instead of saying, oh, I know who's going to start or whatever, you guys will need to know, or whatever exactly the phrasing is. I hate player interviews. I really do, and coach interviews. It's all the same stock answers. So I don't watch them all the time, but I hear about it and see it on Twitter and stuff. So I don't have the exact quote of what he was saying. But all you have to say instead of, oh, I know, and you guys don't have to know is, oh, we're talking about it as a staff. We'll make a decision by Friday and let you guys know. Why be so hostile? There's no reason to be hostile there. So he's been digging himself a grave. And in terms of like some of that stuff, you know, with the Fields benching thing, you had him having strong conviction in Xavier Gibson, one punt return or kick return later, then he cuts him, you know. You have him, you know, oh, at the NFL draft, oh, we're going to, and I guess I'm saying Darren Glenn now. We're gonna expect him to win now, and then week 3, it's like, oh well, you know, big ships turn slow. It's like, okay, well, you just told us you expect to win, and now we're big ship turn slow.
100%.
And then you also have the stuff where there's another thing with Glenn recently that drove me crazy, but I'll remember. I just blanked it out. But
you're right though, dude. You're right. The thing with him is like him taking this job, I'm like, he played here. He's with Parcells here. He's got he knows the media. He knows how this all works, and he's failing it miserably. Like he's fighting about like the media is living rent free in his head, where he's like, well, I know what you guys think here. I know, like, who gives a shit what the media thinks? What do you think, Coach? Like when he basically said he didn't want to bench Justin Fields because of the backlash and the perception. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? The goal is to win games. You got to hurt feelings. If the guy's not playing well, you're Mr. Accountable. He gets benched. Period. Yeah. Coach's decision, not playing good enough. But he kept like babying him. No, gotta do this and trying to like make it all like, dude, this is how you get fired by doing shit like this.
Yeah, comparing him to Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, like not directly necessarily, but it's like, hey, coach, one, don't you know that those guys average like another yard per attempt than him? Like there's a reason they hold the ball, because they hold the ball, they keep their eyes down the field, and they chuck it 40 yards down the field, and Justin Fields takes a sack. He's also, oh, well, don't compare me to Bill Parcells, don't compare me to other coaches. And they're asking about benching Justin Fields or who they're going to play next week. He's like, oh, well, I got to call the coaches. I'm gonna consult with them. It's like, dude, you're getting paid $10 to $12 million a year. Why don't you make that decision? So he's been frustrating, no doubt about it, in the media. So with Justin Fields, I think he's on a short leash going forward. I think after the last game, you kind of have to play him. But it's been just such a mess with him in the media, and that doesn't even start all, you know, that's not even all the problems he's had. He's had plenty more. So
yeah, he's been like, listen, this is the whole first time head coach experience, but thinks he's creating more problems for himself with the handling of certain situations, which makes you absolutely crazy, right? So it just seems so unnecessary. But now you have the whole Justin Fields thing, whatever. I'm just hoping they stay more aggressive and they let him throw the ball and use his asset. But you mentioned it earlier, and it drove me crazy. When Justin Fields said his leg was hurt, I'm like, why is he playing? Because that's literally his biggest asset, the threat to run. He feels more confident. He's more comfortable. That's when he plays his best. If you take it away from him, he's already doubting himself, right? Like it just – and this is the frustration that hopefully Glenn's learning on the job. I'm not so sure he is, but it's really difficult to deal with this again, man. It's the media stuff. You also have like in the middle of beginning of the year or whatever, he's at least going to give us a team we're proud of. And, you have guys loafing it in the Cowboys game 0-0. You have, I think, the second most missed tackles in the NFL. Yep. You're one of the highest penalty ridden teams in the NFL. They've been better the last 2 or 3 weeks. So hopefully that's a trend and it continues, but you're missing tackles, you're committing penalties. You're not trying, at times with, again, a linebacker who's got $15 million a year, getting blown out in multiple games. The Bucks, they came back versus the Bucks, but it took a miracle play. Yep. Cowboys game, I was in that building and it was over, at the end of the first half, it was like 23-3 at halftime. You get beat by the Dolphins. You're trailing for most of 2 scores in that entire game. You get dog walked the second week of the season. That could have legitimately been 53-3 if they wanted it 100%. To be the Bills. They're lucky they took their foot off the gas in the end of the third quarter. So you have that. And then you have the in-game stuff. The Broncos game was mind-numbing with you go for it on fourth, which, by the way, it's not even just that they went for it too, but you go for it, you leave Breece Hall in, and you leave your starting offensive line in on a punt. So that alarm bell should be going off in the defense's mind. This is a fake. They stacked the shit out of the box, so you might as well just quarterback sneaked it. Again, a team who doesn't like to sneak it or doesn't like to tush push when they voted yes for the tush push with a quarterback who's the second biggest quarterback in the NFL, probably sneak the fucking ball. What are you doing? So that's been frustrating. And then I think it was the Panthers game. He blew a timeout, didn't only punt the ball in the fourth quarter. You have. And then in the Broncos game, he says, oh, well, and again, they should have went for it because they had plenty of time to get 20 yards and kick a field goal.
And in that game, by the way, he comes out after. He's like, oh, it would have been like a 68-yard field goal. You have McVay who can remember stuff from, hey, the third quarter against the Saints in 2011. What happened on this play? He could tell you, but our coach didn't know if it was a 62 or a 68-yard field goal there. And Nick Folk, just like 2 weeks before, it made a 58-yarder with like 5 yards to spare. But Justin Fields, who just took 8 sacks before that, you're going to trust him on 4th and 8 or 4th and 9 to convert? Like, what are we doing there? Comes out and says, well, yeah, maybe in that situation, I've at least should have thrown a Hail Mary. He's in the same exact situation the next week against the Panthers and doesn't do it. And he's closer. So I'm like, what are you doing, dude? So the last game was better. I like the aggression. I like going for it. At certain points, like on 4th down and whatever else, even though I think they were down like 3-0, and it was like 4th and 1, like the 35 of the other team. And I wanted him to go for it there. They kicked the field goal. Fine. It is what it is. I like the 2-point conversion at the end of the game, but overall, really, minus the last game, there's been literally nothing positive. It's been all awful. I'm hoping, for the sake of my sanity and just not wanting to do it all over again, that he wins 5 out of the last 9 or 4 out of the last 9, and we can stop talking about firing him, because if he comes out and loses to the Browns, who you're favored against, it's all back to where we were the week before anyway. It's all going to be talk about fire him. So, well,
that's the whole point. It's like, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, but it's like, listen, I'm glad they won. It was a relief. We're not going to have no wins this season. It's the Bengals, historically horrific defense. Well, you get so now it's like, now you're going to play a Browns defense that can get after it. Beat the Browns. Like, you got to show signs of building off it and not being incompetent, not making the same mistakes on and off the field, doing shit like that. So now you go to defense, which to me has been grossly disappointing. Like, we talked about this. We went to the season like, all right, the offense is probably going to struggle. Justin Fields got to figure it out, but they have Steve Wilkes, veteran defensive coordinator. They have this defensive line, Quentin Williams, Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson, all these guys. They are horrible. They paid Sherwood, awful. Like, it's been a disaster. So the first question is, Steve Wilkes was hired with some concerns, but I'm like, all right, there's enough talent week 1 to have a competitive defense. Doesn't have to be great, but top 15, like nothing crazy. You have enough talent here to do that. And they're getting blown off the ball, tackling, everything's been disaster. Pass coverage has been bad. Like, they've gotten better. Stevens has gotten better, but the defensive line itself, dude, what is your assessment of these guys?
Yeah, I think so. They've been playing better in coverage the last few weeks. So I've been heavier on the defensive line in terms of criticism because they're holding the ball a little bit longer. Q has been making an impact. Obviously, running game, he gets double teamed a lot, but still, when you're paid what he's paid, you got to make an impact versus double teams. Now, with that being said, I legitimately hate when people say, "Oh, well, he's not Aaron Donald." It's like saying, oh, we drafted a linebacker in the first round. He's not Lawrence Taylor. It's like, why are we comparing him to one of the best defensive tackles of all time? If the barometer is, oh, they're not Aaron Donald, nobody's going to be successful, because Aaron Donald, it's like him, Mean Joe Green, and that's about it. Like, Reggie White, like you're talking about those level of players. So, stupid in that sense, but yeah, he's been a little bit disappointing as a pass rusher. Obviously, want to make more of an impact there. JJ has come back, and JJ's coming off an Achilles, and I've always said it, like, he's a very good run stuffer, but he's more of an average kind of an effort type of pass rusher. McDonald's been disappointing. He won some in the early weeks, but the ball was out so quickly because the Jets blew so many defenses in the first 5 weeks that the ball comes out literally immediately, so it doesn't matter how quickly you get there. So there were some wins for him, so I'll give him a little bit of credit, even though while acknowledging he's been disappointing. I think the only guys who've played the expectations have really been, like Briggs and Phillips a little bit. Michael Clemens has actually been better the last 2 or 3 weeks, which is saying something for him because he was dreadful. He's actually made a little bit of an impact, but yeah, it's been disappointing. Again, it was a spot that we knew that they should have brought in guys because, again, and I think a part of the problem with like Twitter and just people in general is like, oh, well, they should have signed Zadarius Smith for this amount of money. Like, I don't know what Zadarius Smith got. Let's just say he got $8 million. Right. Oh, well, if they offered him 8.5, he would have come here. He could be like, no, I hate New Jersey. Taxes suck. The Jets suck. I don't want to come there. So I hate when people put like definitive statements on, oh, they should have brought this guy in or should have talked to him when you don't know if they actually did or not. Right. So back, but with that being said, if they did contact guys like Jadeveon Clowney is a mercenary. He goes to the highest bidder every 100%. Single time. So you could have brought him in. And part of the problem was going into the offseason, we recognized there's no DN3, there's no DN4. JJ's coming off a torn Achilles, and Will McDonald's a one-trick pony. How are we not bringing in more depth there? So frustrating position that you need to see do better. They've been better in the run defense than they were this last game, but overall, obviously, disappointment.
So, but is it like I kind of want to focus on Quinn Williams? Well, I never used that Aaron Donald comparison. I'm using it when he had the big year for his contract, and just the expectation of being an all-pro defensive tackle or defensive, like be that high, like a difference maker guy. You're made to be like an impact player. And I think we all got caught up when we watch Hard Knocks, the Salas Raven, like, oh my God, nobody can defend it, nobody can block him, nobody can do this. And now it's like you see it like, a big play, big part of the game, fourth quarter, whatever is big play, never happens. Like, is he like everybody loves like Phillips, everybody loves Jermaine Johnson. Like, he has enough talent around him, right? Is it just because, well, he needs like a high 1A next to him to be a better player? Like, he's getting paid as the elite playmaker, no?
Yeah. No, I think he's kind of been, I feel like his last few years, like the last two specifically, he's dipped down more into like D tackle, maybe 7 through 10, where the years before that, it was like him and Chris Jones, Jeffrey Simmons up there as like the top 3. So he's dipped a little bit. The conversations are interesting around him, like trade him or not trade him. Again, a little bit disappointing, but he's still a Pro Bowl level D tackle. D tackles are not that easy to find necessarily. So it'll be interesting to see if they do trade him by 4:00 tomorrow. I'm more in the camp of no, just because he's a young building block. He'll still be good for another 4 or 5 years. But overall, I would say he's disappointing, where again, I think he could be a top 5 defensive tackle, and he's been more in that top 10-ish type range.
Is it him or is it the scheme? Like, how much does Wilkes' defense have an impact on his play?
Yeah, this one's a little bit more read and react than Salah's was, where it was just attack the gaps. This one's a little bit more read and react, so it definitely hampers guys a little bit in terms of rushing, especially in the interior defensive line, because if you're not through that A gap or B gap quickly, there's 2 guys to each side of you, it closes up relatively quickly. So I don't think it's necessarily helped him with the scheme change, but like you said, if you're an all-pro level guy, you got to win some double teams. I'm not saying all the time. Like, I don't have realistic or unrealistic expectations. Be Aaron Donald and get 20 sacks, but it would be nice to see him get 8, 9, 10, 11. I think his highest year was about 10 and a half. Yep. So obviously, I would like to see him produce more. Again, I think part of the problem with him too is just like I said before with the defense and getting sacks was how bad the coverage was. When you have guys who are quite literally 15 yards open with nobody around them, the defensive line can't get there. With that being said, I would still like them to produce more. So
especially the run defense, dude. Like the run defense, they're running literally right up the middle, like right at them, and it's coming, and they're still not stopping it. So you have the defensive line getting blown off the ball, and the linebackers can't tackle. Like, I like to know, like, and I'll be honest, when the Jets made the move for Jamie Sherwood, I actually liked it. Young player on the rise, big hitter, good range, good speed. I'm like, you know what? Assuming that Aaron Glenn defensive mind, Steve Wilkes defensive mind, like, they can at least make him, a quality player. And he's completely regressed to the point where he was benched last week, probably something off the field because there wasn't anything on the field, where it's like that contract is awful right now. Is it the scheme? Is it him? Is he over pursuing, trying to do too much? Like, what is it?
Yeah, it might be doing too much, like thinking too much. I said it from the jump, and I think Sabo was on a little bit harder, but I said when they signed him to that contract that it was an overpay, and they must be paying him for what they think he could be, not what he's been so far.
Yep.
Tackles are a terrible barometer of a good linebacker. They just are. I know he's top 5 in tackles, but the biggest reason for the run defense being bad has been the linebackers and safeties specifically. I know Quincy had a few nice plays, like highlight plays in that Broncos game. Overall, they were gross. They were both terrible in run defense, like absolutely dreadful. I know Sherwood, he had like a decent game before that, but the Cowboys game, he let up 2 touchdowns. He blew the coverage on the Ferguson play. He was supposed to be in the curl to flat there and was in the middle of the field. He was supposed to be 15 yards out to the left, but he bit on a run and then loafed and didn't try to get back. He also blew another coverage. Javonte Williams just ran right into the right flat. Sherwood was in coverage on him. That was on him as well. So he's been dreadful. He's never been good in pass coverage. He's always been decent in run defense. He's a really good tackler because his arms are just so damn long. His tackle radius is so good. But he guesses on gaps all the time. Like, he is out of position all the time. And the problem is Quincy is a volatile player next to him. So they both are big guessers. So our run defense gets shredded because of them. And then on top of that, Tony Adams is dreadful. And I remember somebody on this podcast, I'm not going to say who of the two of us, was pretty excited about Cisco. And I came on, I was like, yo, Cisco is balls. And you're like, really? He's balls? Like, dude, he's not good. I'm telling you. And Cisco has been gross in run defense too. Now he's out for the entire year. Not rooting that, I'm not rooting for that on anybody, but he was not good with the Jaguars. I was really concerned they gave him $10 million a year, but before you go into, I have a lot of these on the safeties. Before you go into them,
what do you do with Quincy Williams? Because to me, it's like the trade deadline's tomorrow, 4:00. Like he can go. Like, and like not to be mean, like I actually liked him. I like him as a player. He's like he did a lot. He got all pro. He's an easy guy to root for. But I think at this point, you're not bringing him back next year. Trade him to the 49ers. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't think with a team who needs receivers, who needs some safeties, who needs DNs, I don't think it's smart to pay your linebacker group a total of maybe like $27 million. Quincy's going to probably get 10, 11, 12. It's just not the best allocation of resources, one. And then two, on top of that, like I said, they're way too, they're too light together and they're way too volatile in terms of guessing. If anything, I want a little bit bigger of a guy who's a little bit more like slow play a guy next to Sherwood, because Sherwood's a guesser. And there's ways you can combat that. There's a bunch of different like linebacker fits where you could send a linebacker like screaming through a gap, and then basically the other linebacker just scrapes over the tops and kind of reads the run and plays it. Like you could do that type of stuff. But I don't like the volatility of both of them next to each other. I don't think it's good allocation of resources when you're a team who needs a lot to be paying linebackers that much. So I'm in the camp of, you got to move Quincy. Maui Noah has had some flashes this season, so let him play the rest of the year, and probably get a fifth for Quincy. I know that Warner went down with the Niners. Everybody's been talking about, hey, trade him to the Niners. 5th round pick. I think you do it. You just can't pay your linebacker room that much. And again, realistically, he makes some plays on broadcast that are really like highlighty and fans notice. But if you actually go back and watch it rep by rep, how bad he is in terms of gap discipline, it's just the volatility is brutal.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a guy, like we all like them, but I think it's now changing the guard. And the way they're playing now, that's so disappointing. Like you got to move on and get guys that actually fit your defense and your system. The safety position, you were completely right, dude. I was like, oh, you got Cisco's a ball hawk. He's going to flourish. I hated Tony Adams, though. Be fair, I did hate Tony Adams the entire time. But Cisco, now he's out for the year, which is fine. What are your thoughts on Malachi Moore, man? Because you see some good, but you see some bad, too, where it's like, but then is that a young player or is that just his ability?
Yeah. This is one that's not going to be necessarily popular as well. Malachi Moore, I think, has been generally way overrated by fans. You actually go back and watch the games. That play won the Bucks game. Remember that play where Baker overshot that receiver on a post, and it could have been a touchdown. Literally the first play they come back out to tie to get the lead. That was Malachi Moore. There was another one where Baker overthrew a receiver on like a corner route to the right sideline. That was on Malachi Moore. He was wide open. Baker just overthrew it. The game against the Panthers, I don't know if you remember the play where he was deep in the middle. The receiver bobbled it and he like punched it out of the receiver bobbling it. The only reason he was there was because the pass rush made him step up in the pocket, and then Bryce Young lofted it up in the air, and it took way too long to get there. But if you actually go back and watch that play, he got roasted. If that was on time, on target with the zip it required, or should have been on that ball, he's beat for probably a touchdown there. He's been a little bit better in the run game, but he misses tackles more than he did at Alabama. So I'll be honest, I've not been impressed with him. It's his rookie year. He's a 4th round pick. There's more time to grow. I don't want the comments of, oh, Blewett think he sucks already. Like, you give guys more time. But realistically, going back and watching, he's made a few nice tackles, but he's also missed plenty. And the coverage has just not been good. I'll just be honest. It's not been good. And even this last game, he's supposed to be over top of Azaria Thomas on that one play, that T. Higgins touchdown, and he wasn't. He bit on a crosser. So he's not been good. That would just be realistic.
Yeah, the safety position has been driving me crazy, man. Just the piss poor tackling, the angles, the coverage is driving me crazy. Cisco is bad. Tony Adams is terrible. Malachi Moore seems like he's learning on the fly, but I think he's a victim of all the bad tackles around him as well. Now, Sauce Gardner unfortunately got hurt, but he was like, I think our expectation of Sauce is so high level. Like, we want to be like Revis 2.0, which he's never going to be. He's not Darrelle Revis. Yeah, he's never going to be that guy.
Nobody will ever again.
No. But can he be an elite, dynamic, game-changing player at the corner position where it's like, listen, guys aren't going to throw at him. They're not going to test him. He can be consistent. Or is he going to be a penalty machine where he struggles and never going to live up to that contract?
Yeah. Realistically, this is one where like I'll go the opposite way than I did Malachi Moore. I think people have been too hard on Sauce. You look at the separation numbers. He's like there's like the graphs where like top right's the very best, and he's top right. And there's not even anybody close to him. I want to see him come up bigger in bigger situations. Like I think his only bad game, I was like, damn man, was the Bucks game. He got roasted a couple times by Mike Evans, and Mike Evans actually dropped 2 or 3 of them. But being realistic, like the Ibuka catch in that game was a push off. The Mike Evans play on him was a push off.
Yep.
And if Garrett Wilson was called for it, the way you don't call Mike Evans on that is ridiculous. And I'm not the biggest homer. Obviously, maybe there's a little tinge of homerism that comes in, but the Mike Evans one was definitely worse than Garrett Wilson's. Pickens, that deep touchdown, he pushed off twice, worse than Garrett Wilson. So I'm not necessarily one to always make I am not one to make excuses for people. I think you know that. So don't just take it as me like blowing smoke. Even the Waller play, like he was a little bit lazy in his technique and his feet were lazy. When your feet are lazy, you tend to have overreactive movements. He had an overreactive movement. He hugged instead of like punching into the chest of Waller, which allowed Waller to get into his chest, which you don't want to do with a bigger guy than you or anybody. But Waller also pushed off on that play. Like he didn't play it perfectly, but Waller pushed off on that play. So he's given up a few touchdowns. Give him credit though. He's been a much better tackler last 4 or 5 weeks he's played. He's been much more physical. I want to see him come down with more balls. I don't want to see him get beat by, Josh Palmer and Mitch Trubisky on 3rd and 8. And the funny thing is on that play too, I'm with my wife. I'm like, I guarantee you that they're going to complete this because the backup quarterback came in. This is just the Jets' life. And of course it was against Sauce Gardner. But with that being said, I still think he's in the top 10. He's not been all pro rookie and sophomore year, like number 1 or number 2. A separation number say he is, but I think he's somewhere. He's still in the top 10, if not top 5. He's been fine. Couple of push-offs, couple of penalties. I want to see him make a play on the ball a little bit more, but he's been, I would say, close to worth of the contract. And he started off the year not great, and fans tend to like build their opinions really quickly of people. But I think he's gotten beat for like, I think his numbers right now are like 12 catches for 120 yards over 7 games. It's really not that bad, right? Like it's okay.
Now, what are your thoughts on Stevens, man? Because he's been coming on where he plays physical, he's nasty, and it's like his coverage has been better. Like you're obviously not getting interceptions, but neither's anybody else. No sacks, no turnovers with this defense. But we questioned the signing. We're like, I'm not really sure about this, but to me, he's been a pleasant surprise on this defense.
Yeah, that was one I took a little bit of heat on in the offseason too, because I said I liked that one a little bit more than other people did. If he could fix his fatal flaw and learning how to play the football in the air. And again, I get into technical things on the show. It's not just play the ball better in the air, because that's a large encompassing topic. Like there's so many different situations of how you're supposed to play balls differently and stuff. And he always just struggled specifically with the vertical balls, and we saw that early on in the season. But realistically, the last 4 or 5 weeks, he's been what you've paid him, if not more. In terms of number 2 corners in the NFL, again, just realize I'm saying the last 4 or 5 weeks, not the first 3. The first 3 weeks he was good. Since week 3, he's been a good number 2 corner. And a good number 2 corner is typically getting $15-16 million a year. So recent weeks, he's been outperforming his contract. Now, hope to see him continue that. He hasn't been targeted a lot in situations where I want to see him playing balls differently. But he tackles. He's been good in press. He gets beat a couple of times, but he's been good, man. Again, I want to see him tested more vertically, and that was my concern. T. Higgins versus him, because T. Higgins is one of the best contested catch guys in the NFL, and Stevens is one of the worst. Hasn't been tested in that way, but overall, you have to give him his flowers. The last 4 or 5 weeks, he's been legitimately a very good number 2 corner.
And so the Jets traded Michael Carter away, which was no surprise based on the play of Brownlee.
Yeah.
What do you think of him, man? Because he is like the kind I love watching him play. He's intense, big hitter. He has that emotion. He plays with that passion that you wish would resonate with everybody else.
Yeah, Brownlee Stan here. I was a little bit concerned about the penalties. Obviously, he tends to be a little bit grabby. But I said, in terms of his mindset in the box, it is very, and again, not the same player or anything like that, but it's very Jamal Adams prime type of mindset that he has, like how aggressive he takes on blocks and how willing he is to throw his body in there. So he's like a Jamal Adams in a slot corner's body. And we can get into the coverage stuff. I think he's actually a better cover corner outside. Slot receivers tend to have more room, obviously, off the line of scrimmage. He tends to struggle with a little bit more room because he panics. When guys are on the line of scrimmage, he gets his hands on them and doesn't panic as much. So I think he's better in the slot as a run defender because he's part of the run fit. He's closer to the actual play. On the outside, he's not going to be as involved in the run game, but he's a better corner, cover corner. So it'd be interesting to see how they played him. Obviously, MC2 was hurt, struggling, so they played him in the slot, and the way he played his first 2 or 3 weeks, there's no way you could take him out of the lineup. I thought they may at that point try Michael Carter II at safety because he played some at Duke. They didn't. Obviously, they traded him for what's his name, Mechie, and trade up of a 7th to a 6th or whatever. So it is what it is. But yeah, they have him under control for another 2 years after this year. So I'm very excited about Brownlee. He's like you said, even if he'll struggle sometimes getting beat. Getting beat on a play, having a penalty, it's the mindset you want.
Yes.
And that's one of the things, like talking about JJ too. It's like, that's one of the reasons my price is so high for him. Like JJ, Garrett Wilson, Brownlee are the players like you want that aggressive, just absolute dog type mentality. And those guys have it. So I could have really not been higher on the Brownlee trade. I looked at the stats and stuff at first. I was like, oh my, like, okay, pretty good. And I watched him obviously every game and did a breakdown. I was like, holy shit, dude, like the Titans are idiots for getting rid of this guy. And we are reaping the rewards of that. Not saying that he's not going to be great always. He's going to be a little bit volatile at times as well. But overall, definitely happy with Brownlee for sure. Yeah.
Now, what are your thoughts on Steve Wilks schematically? Like, what do you like? I just expected so much more from this team. Maybe I'm overrating the talent of the players, but when you see shitty tackling, shitty angles, not generating any turnovers, one turnover, next to no sacks, it's like you got like something has to be wrong other than effort. And right, is it Wilks?
Yeah. Well, it's a mixture, and like people were saying, oh, he runs too much man, he runs too much zone. Like I think even the man calls, I think it was like 54 man, 46 zone in terms of percentages. So it's not like it's an overbearing, towards or overwhelming towards one side of the aisle in terms of how much they call one or the other. I think the biggest problem with Wilks initially, and last week was tackling, last week was the linebackers and safeties, but specifically initially in the early in the season, it was every single third down was just man coverage, and teams just knew how to pick the Jets apart. And then part of it is, again, like, not to be a fence sitter, but it's just, I'm just being realistic. Like there were so many blown coverages and linebackers playing guys so badly that I couldn't chalk it up to, okay, is he telling Quincy to, for lack of a better example, like match the number two, match the number two, match the number two, match the number two. Quincy goes out there, doesn't match the two. Like, how is that on Wilks? So you have to ask the question, like, okay, how is he teaching it? How effective is he in teaching that subject? Like, how much is he harping on it? How much do the players take to coaching? Do they take to the coaching in practice? The bright lights come on and then they shit the bed. Like, there's so many kind of, like, if I don't think you just say, oh, it's definitely on him. Oh, it's definitely on the players. Yeah. I think that would personally be disingenuous for me to say, because I'm not back in the meeting rooms and stuff. I would love to be, just for a day, just their scouting room, just a day. But yeah, so it's a little bit hard to tell. They're obviously, so past that too, it was also the tendency of the third downs. It was also the fact that you're blowing so many coverages, and then you're blitzing a lot. So then you're putting more on those guys because you're sending extra to, hey, you have more responsibilities now because we're sending a fire zone to cover more ground. You're not getting home because the coverages are blown. So figure out your coverages on the back end first. Don't blow coverages. Then you blitz. You don't want guys blowing coverages on blitzes because, you can get absolutely roasted, and they were. So you have that, the third down thing. And I think also the tackling has been just abysmal from the safeties, and from which it was going to be. I said right off the jump, Cisco is just as bad as Whitehead as a tackler. Adams is abysmal at it. He's been Quincy, highlight play. It's like Brees as a running back. Quincy's kind of the same as a linebacker. Bad play, good play, bad play, good play. And the same thing for Sherwood. So he doesn't have the best in terms of the interior, in terms of stopping the run and stuff. So he's been a little bit better recently with like not blowing coverages and stuff, but also not been great. And then part of my problem was when he was not performing well was Glenn saying, oh, well, I'm going to let him kind of ride it out. And fans are like, oh, well, maybe he doesn't want to take over the play calling for Wilks, because then if he takes over the play calling and he's bad, then the heat is on him. And it's like, if that's his mindset, if his mindset is I'm going to hide behind Wilks, then fire him now. Seriously, because that's not the mindset you want from a coach. So that was frustrating as well. Like, if you're gonna be a coward about it and be like, I'm gonna hide behind this guy, get out of here. You don't have the mindset for New York. Get the hell out of here. So we'll see the rest of the season how they perform. It's not been good enough yet. Obviously, the Panthers game, Broncos game were a little bit better, but look who you're working against. So we'll see. They have, again, 9 more weeks for Wilks to save his job, because I think at this point, even the staff has brought back Wilks is probably not.
So now, can you buy into the argument where you remember when Jeff Ulbrich was here, his first year, our conversation the following year was, what week is Jeff Ulbrich going to get fired because his defense is terrible? Yeah. Then they brought in different players, they made modifications, and we saw much improved defense. Can you see Aaron Glenn doing that? It could be out of arrogance, saying, listen, we need our guys in here. We assess what we have. Wilks will have his guys year 2. This defense will be much improved, just for the sake of continuity. Can you see that? Or they may just say, listen, this guy, we tried it, it's not working. We need a much different style here.
Yeah. with the Wilkes hire too, I think a lot of us, like especially with the rookie staff, we wanted experience. I think most of us lean towards offense, but the fact they got on defense, like great. I think most of us, I'm not going to speak for everybody. I think I'd say maybe you did as well. I think I overlooked the fact that Wilkes was like one and done, like every single place he's been in the last like 7 stops. So there's clearly been problems with him. But in terms of the 2021 team, 2022 team, like the problem with that comparison is this team has so much more talent than those teams. You know, like they're not running out the talent they were. So like, yeah, I guess you could say that like this team could, with their guys, with their learning the scheme more throughout the years, and they can add more wrinkles and stuff. Fine. That's not an excuse for the first 7 weeks or whatever it was. Maybe the first 5 weeks. They were on pace to be the worst Jets defense, not just of a few years, of all time. So there's a middle ground. Like I can accept it if it was just, okay, he's a little bit bad, he's a little bit below average, fine. But most of us expected the defense to be better than the offense. And they were one of the, if not the worst defenses in the NFL through 5 weeks. And that's not an excuse to say, oh, you need your guys, because they got Sauce, they got Q, you got all pros at every level. You just signed, that was their decision to sign Sherwood again. They weren't attached to that. That was their decision. You know, it was their decision to not bring in defensive ends. It was their decision to wait long on defensive tackles, you know? So you can't just, oh, well, he doesn't have a team to work with. Well, who built the team? Aaron Glenn. And another part of the problem with the hire is he's not only a rookie head coach who's trying to handle in New York, he's also the de facto GM in his first year. Like that's overwhelming. And you heard Ulbrich just last year talk about, hey, I needed to pass more responsibility because all the onus fell on me and it was too much. We heard him say that with the Falcons. So you put Glenn in that position, another rookie head coach, like there's so much I could go off on.
But that's my biggest issue was on offense, Glenn not knowing how to fix it or be dealing with it. It's like, all right, listen, you're a defensive guy. On defense, to me, it's like, listen, you hear the play calls in your headset. You know what's going on during the game. You should be making in-game adjustments or telling Wilkes, listen, man, this shit ain't working. Make real-time adjustments. Don't do the same thing over and over to the point where Greg Olson and Tony Romo are actually calling out
real-time adjustments, Tyson. They used to watch the film.
But like you have the analysts on TV literally calling out. They're calling the same defense every time. Like Romo's like, oh, here's how you attack it. Greg Olson, here's how you attack it. They're literally telling the fuck if they can figure it out from the booth, like how can Glenn not get more involved? And I hate that it's like, well, this is Wilkes' thing. To me, it's like, listen, like I'm kind of like you, man, like more old school where it's like, listen, you be proactive. Like I don't like losing. If you're doing shit I don't like, we're going to change it now. I'm not going to wait 5 games from now or the end of the season. Like, oh, we'll make change. No, it's about real-time competition. Find a way to win games week in and week out. That's why you're a CEO type head coach. That's what you're supposed to do. Like that's what Parcells did, dude. Like Parcells would listen to all the play calls. He would listen. You hear him. You see my silent yelling. Like, no, we're not running the ball here. We're passing. We're like Glenn doesn't seem like he's doing that now, which is fine. It's the first year, but that's the struggle, and that's where he tries talking himself, like explaining it, and it makes no sense to me. It just doesn't.
Yeah, especially when you preach accountability and stuff like that too, right? And you don't hold the guys accountable. Like, yeah, he's easy. He can hold Xavier Gibson accountable. That's fine. But then you won't hold Justin Fields accountable. So it's like you can't hold some accountable and not others based on where they are on the roster. I'm not saying it's to stay out there and say Justin Fields sucks, we have no chance, like Woody Johnson basically said. But you could criticize him and say, yeah, he needs to be better. Like I think Justin recognizes he needs to be better instead of like, for lack of a better term, I don't mean to sound like a 20-year-old, but like glazing him, for
what's true.
Like you don't just hype him up for no reason. Like same thing with Clemens. Like, oh, Clemens is great. It's like, no, just say he struggled or whatever it was. But
that's the media game he keeps losing, dude. Like when they I knew you were gonna piss me off. Coming into the season, we knew certain players sucked. Like we knew Tony Adams sucked. We knew Xavier Gibson sucked. We know like Lazard, like Michael Clemens is not a starting caliber defensive end. We knew all these things. Yep. And then Aaron Glenn arrogantly kind of said, like, no, we like, remember when he talked about Will McDonald? Oh, now this is his style. Like he's going to flourish underneath us because now he's being coached properly. Now he's going to be this. And it didn't happen.
Dude, right? Same thing with Fields too. Like don't compare me to the other coaches and all this stuff and taking shots unnecessarily. Like why come in and criticize Mike Tomlin? Like you criticized Mike Tomlin. You're in your first couple of interviews by saying we're gonna let Justin Fields play quarterback, saying that the Steelers didn't, or Will McDonald bull rushed Membu. What is it? Oh, it's coaching. Like why? He puts unnecessary heat on himself. And again, I get not being like friendly with the media like Saleh does, but bringing unnecessary heat on yourself does nothing for you. So he's definitely struggled there. He's made himself look like an idiot in the media, just being realistic.
And the thing is, like, don't be like the one struggle I have is it's not like Aaron Glenn has a 10-year head coaching resume, but like he's been there, done that. He's won 12 games before. It's like, well, in Detroit, I did this. You weren't the head coach, bro. Like you weren't. Like it's not like Justin Fields has 10 great seasons under his belt where like, all right, he's gonna come around. Like, no, this is like you're earning the respect now. You're earning the trust right now. You're earning your credibility right now, and you're not actually earning it. And that's what makes me so mad. And he takes these battles with the media makes no sense, dude. Like and I think the players see it too, man, because when the coach talks like that, the next question goes to the players. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? It just makes it uncomfortable for everybody, man.
Yeah, they're not dumb. They're out there on Twitter and they see stuff and they see the fans talking and all of that stuff. So they're not idiots. And like I feel like he's even went at fans a couple of times, like wanting like instant coffee league and all that stuff. It's like
he started himself.
15 years. Like we're again, like you said, we had low expectations. Like there's a reason we were 5.5, 6.5, win totals by like Vegas and all these sports books or whatever. But we didn't expect the first 7 weeks. The first 7 weeks we were abysmal. So not a team I was proud of. Again, taking shots at guys. Xavier Gibson, we see something in practice. One kick return later, cut. Justin Fields, Brian Casello, you're an idiot for even asking that. A half later, benched. So Xavier Gibson, we were all screaming about it. That thing, like it just. It's not been great in game as well. So it's been a big problem. He's not in games.
The game. What he said to me was, not to me, but he said it was, you don't see what we see in practice. No, we see the games. That's what's more important, the practice or the games.
And one of the things was in terms of that too. What did you see in practice? Because Xavier Gibson was hurt all offseason. What are you talking about? What did you see in practice? You saw him walking in a boot or whatever. I don't know what the injury was, but like, what do you mean? What do you see? Like, I don't know if Jamal. Maybe I don't know if his name is Jamal. Actually, it's maybe something else. But Pritchett, I don't know if he can't learn a playbook. Like I don't know exactly what it is, or if he got caught like sleeping with Muji's wife or something. I don't know why they have such a freaking vendetta against Pritchett, but he looked good in the offseason. He looked really shifty. And then credit Isaiah Williams for the last game, but like he looked slow as hell the first couple of games he was in there. Like Pritchett was at least explosive. So I don't know the roster decisions, the media stuff, the in-game decisions, the timeouts, I should have thrown a Hail Mary. Oh, same situation. Nope, I won't. So it's like he's been dreadful. I'm rooting for him. I want him to work out because I want to see the Jets work out. But one game doesn't do it for me. Just realistically, you got to go out there and win more, right? Like I'm not. We beat the Bengals. Okay, sweet. Now beat the Browns.
Well, that's where I'm at with this. It's like, listen, it was great to win. It's nice to win. It's refreshing. A week off and not talking about how bad the team is. But it's like, if you mentioned earlier, if you lay a dud against the Browns, you're back to being exactly where we were. And to me, it's like we understand it's his first year. He has a lot to prove. Like you can't mail in the next 9 games. Like, we're still learning. No, your defense has to be a lot better. Your offensive time management, game management. And then what you have to say is, are there players on this roster actually getting better? Which is the most important thing because that's showing development. That's showing progress. Or are you going to say at the end of this year, well, this guy's all right, but we're like, it's like saying Mason Taylor, you're starting to see good things. Perfect. How many other guys are actually improving throughout the entire season from week 1 to week 18? Are they actually better from a year under Aaron Glenn and his staff? If you can't start listing off the name of a bunch of guys, that to me is concerning.
Yeah, that and it's also going to be big too because one, the Jets have sucked out of bye weeks. So how are we going to do after a bye week? And the last time we got that massive moral victory that everybody was so excited about in week 1, we don't care about it anymore. But the Jets were so excited about it, they blew their load week 1, and then week 2 they walked out like a bunch of zombies. So they just won. Are they going to then be overconfident, whatever, come out like zombies? And then on top of that, bye week, like the Jets are awful after bye weeks the last 10, 15 years. So can they come out and beat a rookie quarterback who's looked gross? Like, and it's going to tell me something about this team too, because how are they going to scheme, this offense open? Because the Browns, while they're bad at offense, their defense is stacked. So, and Myles Garrett is an alien. Like he is bar none the best DN in the NFL to me. I like TJ Watt, but there's nobody freakier than Myles Garrett in the NFL, in my opinion. So, you have to block him up. We'll see what happens. You have some winnable games. You have 2 games against the Pats. Can you take one of those, even though they look good? They've had a weak schedule, but they still look good. You have the Saints. You have the Jags, who are actually better this year, but still, you have the Dolphins at home. You have the Browns. Like, win games, 3 or 4 games minimum, in my opinion, and then we're okay. But if you come out and win one more game and it's an embarrassing game versus the Saints, I'm not like, sign them up. Give them Ty Simpson, number 2 or number 1 overall, and hopefully it works out. I'm just not there.
That's exactly my concern. It's like you're trying to assess what you have in terms of players, but the coaching staff saying you're going to get a top 5 pick and $80 million in cap space. Are they earning the right to actually, work with that? And that's kind of where I'm at too. It's like, listen, man, you got a long way to go. You can't be mailing games in. Like you already had your mulligans. You already had like 3 of them at this point. You're out of those. No more no-show performances. No more getting thoroughly out-coached and embarrassing yourself with bad decisions. And I guess we'll do a couple more real quick. This is an interesting one because everybody right now is looking at, all right, Justin Fields is not the answer. Brady Cook, probably not the answer. Probably not going to play.
Yeah.
What do the Jets do next year? And a part of me, I argue with Ian about this all the time. A part of me says, I don't really trust this organization to hand them another top 5 pick and say, we're going to groom you and develop around you and let you flourish, where a veteran quarterback, especially with this coaching staff, may expedite their winning process, their process.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I get nervous with just the whole, especially with Glenn. If it was Vrabel, probably different. But I don't feel that. And now everybody's like, well, then just go trade for Kyler Murray, which I'm not his biggest fan. But would you consider that?
No, I don't think so. Does Kyler Murray and the way he acts and like he's putting clauses in his contract and all that stuff mesh with Glenn? 1, 2, like Tanner Engstrand's offense is very like timing based, get the ball out relatively quickly. Does Kyler fit that? No, like he's more of like a scramble drill type of quarterback. I don't think he fits. And what is Kyler Murray at best? Like he's an average level quarterback. Like I don't. If it was Jared Goff and he was more of like an operator of the offense, like a Matthew Stafford, then fine. I don't want to build around a quarterback like Kyler because he doesn't operate within the offense. Yeah. At that point, I think you. And again, like Kyler, I don't know what the contract is, or if it's coming up or whatever. We have to give him a lot of money. So I rather take a quarterback in the top 5, top 10, develop them. And that's part of the problem. If you can't trust them, then how do you say you want them to be here? I've heard fans say like you can't do it this year. Like if anything, fire him after next year. It's like, why? Why are we waiting if it's been that bad with a rookie quarterback? Like, what do you? And I'm not saying to do it now. I'm saying if it's been as bad as it has been minus the last week, which again it's the Bengals. But Woody Johnson's like I think his net worth is like $5 billion. He's not even gonna feel his $10 million for 4 years is me dropping $100 to get rid of Glenn. 100%. If I had to drop $100 at the end of the year to get rid of Glenn, to move on, to get another guy, offensive guy, whatever, to build around a quarterback, I'm doing it. Like it's a drop in the bucket for Woody Johnson. I don't think he feels it with all the money he makes. So that's not holding him back. Is it pride? I don't know. We'll see. Again, obviously the best thing is for the Jets to rip off 5-6 games, and we're all happy with Glenn, So
and that's the whole thing. The whole Woody Johnson thing just pisses me off endlessly because the fucking guy has made millions and millions and millions of dollars off of Jet fans, and he's raising ticket prices again this year. Money doesn't mean shit to him. So if you have to eat $12 million a year for Aaron Glenn because he's incompetent, or there's a much better option available out there, then so be it. That's called being a competent NFL owner, where you own the loss. Like, hell here, man, made a mistake. It happens. It's the way it is.
Yeah, and it's not like, and it's a trend now. Like, Trevor Lawrence's, coach get fired midway through the first year. Obviously, had Caleb Williams' coach get fired. There's another example recently that I'm thinking. Was it Eberflus? No, that was with Caleb Williams. There's another one I can't think of off the top of my head recently, but I don't have faith in them. I think Engstrand's been okay. We'll see, but Glenn has to prove to me that he deserves a chance to. It's not. Oh well, he's just a given. We don't want to fire him. And I get so maybe the A+ candidates wouldn't want to come here, but making head coach money is generational wealth. Like it's much different than an OC, a DC. On top of that, you're talking about, and again, there's the pressure of New York and all that stuff, but you have an offensive line that's with plenty of studs on it. You have a bunch of all pros. You got pro ballers. You have the number 1, number 2, number 3 overall pick. You have $80 million in cap space. Like, I'm not going to say it's the most attractive job in the world, but it's not obviously not. It's not the 2020 Jets barren wasteland either. So
this is the year to do it, dude. If you think about it, this is the year to do it, because if you just say Cliff Kingsbury's your guy, just in theory, if you tell Cliff Kingsbury you can pick your quarterback of choice and you have $80 million and you have this offensive line and Breece Hall and all these guys, dude, that's your selling point. That's when you say, I have full control of this team. This all years do. It's actually this year.
Yeah. It's a lot more attractive this year than it would be next year, and saying, 100%. Hey, this rookie quarterback, because we suck at developing, already looks like shit.
Yep.
We blew our load. We spent 70 million of the $80 million we had available, and here's a ruined rookie quarterback here, develop and now change it around. It's more attractive when it's brand spanking new. So if he doesn't prove something at the end of the year, or if he doesn't prove more by the end of the year, then I'm on the train of getting rid of him. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but just being realistic. It's, again, last game was more positive, but he's been, I said an F the first 7 games. Maybe now he's an F plus, a D minus. Like, I'm just being realistic. It was one game against a really bad team. Again, the next 9 weeks are he's need to win some games to continue here. So,
all right, my last question will be the easiest question of all these. Now, first of all, everybody knows Joe, but we'll share all. I
feel like it's gonna be hard.
So now you're in the early stages of evaluating the college quarterbacks. Everybody's talking about Mendoza, Simpson, everything else. Very early stages. Are you encouraged or concerned?
It's literally
this is my dreams, dude. Don't kill my dreams.
No. I'm not gonna say discouraged. I don't think there are a lot. I don't think it's not Joe Burrow. It's not Andrew Luck. It's not Trevor. Even though Trevor Lawrence is a little bit overrated. I would say I'm lukewarm. I'm where I was before I watched them. Like, I'm not writing home about any one of these guys. And of course, this is a hard question to answer, because I can quite literally talk about the 3 quarterbacks I just watched. I put out 30 plays today of Mendoza. 30 plays are coming out tomorrow of Simpson. Another 30 of more on Wednesday. So I'm putting out plenty. I'm having a mini review of those guys. So I watched 7-8 games of all of them already. So I'm pretty entrenched in what I think of them. It's an interesting conversation. And again, we can get into the intricacies of each guy if we really wanted to. But simply, Mendoza, it probably has the highest floor, but the lowest ceiling. Like, his ceiling may be a Jared Goff level player, which you could win with, but you have to build an offense around him. Doesn't have great mobility. Like, you're not designing plays around him. Once you ask to get him on the move and he has to make throws off platform, make throws on the run, he gets a little bit wonky. It's just athleticism is not the best. Operates in a heavy RPO offense. That's not really translatable necessarily to all NFL offenses. Runs pretty strictly out of gun. Doesn't take a lot of deep shots. With that being said, he has the most starts, is the most like pro-ready processor, really good anticipation, really good layer throws. Simpson has a lower floor, less starts. He's like 7-8 starts right now, but his ceiling is astronomically higher, in my opinion, because of the athleticism. He's not as good of a processor. He's not as good in the pocket. He can get a little bit panicky versus pressure, but his arm is better. His athleticism is better. You could design some runs for Ty Simpson. So it's like, hey, Mendoza is the safer guy, but he has a ceiling of maybe a top 12-ish quarterback, top 10 maybe, where Simpson, lower floor, ceiling of a top 5, top 10 guy. If he puts it all together, and he makes wow plays really consistently, plays in the SEC, beat Mizzou, beat Georgia, beat all these good teams. So like, I don't think Mendoza is perfect where you could say, oh, he's definitely pro ready. There's no flaws. Shotgun, no deep, little to no deep shots, RPO heavy. But again, all the other stuff where Simpson doesn't have the starts. And then I think Moore to me is clearly number 3. I say he's more of a ceiling than Mendoza, but not as high as a Ty Simpson, in my opinion. I think his arm is not as strong. I think it's just average. Same thing for Mendoza, by the way. His arm is just average. I think Moore is just an average arm, but moves a lot better. Not as many wow plays, not as many anticipation throws and really impressive read type stuff. So he hasn't popped to me as much on film in terms of like the processing, layered throws, anticipation throws, all that stuff, but more athletic. So right now, like gun to my head, and I still want to evaluate Simpson. Listen, 7-8 starts. If he sucks the next 5 games of 13 sucking is bad for a sample size. So there's a lot of the next 5 games for him or whatever in the college football playoffs or whatever he's going to be in, the bowl games. But I'm probably at Simpson 1A, Mendoza 1B, and then Moore 2 or 3, however you want to phrase that, because the first overall pick, like if we were picking 10, it might be an easier decision. Like, hey, I'll take Mendoza. Yep. But I feel like if you're the number 1, number 2 overall pick, like you do want to draft a little bit of the ceiling as well. It's just, I'm concerned about the starts. The biggest thing with Simpson are experience, lack of starts. You get panicky versus pressure is not great for the NFL because that's what happened to Zach Wilson as well. So there's concerns there. But it's not, again, it's not like Mendoza's flawless either. And again, the ceiling is just not as high. So it's kind of sketchy. It's like, I can understand anybody saying Mendoza 1 or Simpson 1 or even more 1. For me personally, it's a ceiling thing. I'm probably Simpson 1A with Mendoza 1B, but it's like 50-149. Like it is very close just because Simpson sketches me out.
With Simpson, I'm kind of with Afram on this one. It's like, if you have a player like that, especially with the inexperience, having him sit behind probably Justin Fields for a year, I wouldn't hate that idea where you don't throw him into action. Like the Giants with Dart got lucky because he had Wilson, he had Winston, and Dart's actually playing pretty well. But if you have, I'd rather go with the guy with the arm, the explosive plays, and that all-world potential. I'd rather have that guy, dude, because it's about winning championships, not just trying to get by. I mean, if you say, well, you have an average guy, like average guy is great, but we're like, average guy ain't going to work here. Like you want playmaker, elite, like franchise guy, right? That's what you're kind of looking for.
Yeah, and like realistically too, and like listen, I'm not going to be too greedy. Like I would love to see the Jets just win maybe 8 games would be the most in 10 years. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's just like you could win with Goff, you could win with these guys, but you have to be Sean McVay to win with Goff, or you have to be Ben Johnson to win with Goff. So you could win with them, but you need a perfect offense and pretty much not like a perfect team, but a very good cast around him. So that's kind of where I'm at. They could both force throws. They can both, again, Simpson's reads get wonky once he gets a little bit of pressure in the pocket. He bails out of the pocket too early and stuff, which gives me some Zach Wilson vibes. But the arm is just much better. He's a much better thrower on the run, much more power in his arm. I don't think it's an elite arm, but I think it's very solid, where Mendoza, again, is just so what I say about him, he doesn't have Ty Simpson's mobility. Like you're not going to design plays for him, but I would call it functional mobility.
Is he like a Chad Pennington?
Functional. So like Chad, I was 10, so it's kind of hard to say. I guess it's almost like maybe like I can't really. I'm trying to think of like a player exactly who he'd be. I think he's maybe a little bit more athletic than Goff, maybe a little bit less than Stafford. A little bit more than Kirk Cousins, but like you're not going to draw up plays for those guys.
Right.
Like it's almost like Andy Dalton level athleticism. Okay. Like it is kind of hard to explain exactly like how athletic he's athletic enough where you could roll him out and he could throw on the run, but with pressure in his face, he really has to throw from like crazy off platform throws. He's just not athletic enough to do it. He doesn't have the looseness like in his lower body and stuff. So like to disassociate the hips from the upper body to the from the lower body to the upper body. It's how you create that torque on the ball. So he's not great in those situations. Can force some balls, can skip open receivers, but he's a pocket passer for the most part. Like you start asking him to roll out and under pressure and stuff, it's just not going to look great. So the ceiling's limited with Mendoza to me. And again, if he had a great arm, then like, okay, if he's like Manning, statue, but great arm, fine. If he was in an offense that ran from under center, took more deep shots, less RPO, I'd feel even more comfortable. If it was a thing where he was like locked, like, okay, Chad Pennington, super good processor, all that stuff, where he never screwed up, always took the open first read, never missed on balls, all of this stuff, then yeah, okay. But he's not without his flaws either. Like I have questions about him. So for me personally, it's give me the ceiling of Simpson at least 7 games into an eval of them.
Yeah, like that's something like obviously we'll talk about this in the offseason and everything else, because that's our I guess when we talk the most when Jets looking for a quarterback. Got to talk to Joe Blue because we're back in the quarterback market, like the yearly tradition. It's always a young one. Joe, thank you so much for your time, dude. Because I told you an hour and I lied to you. Now it's an hour and 20 minutes. But I was waiting for this for like, again, you're a very popular man. I waited a month for this interview, so I really appreciate your time, man.
It's realistically, I have a young kid and kids coming and I work midnights. It's hard. I always say it. I don't want to divorce. I want to keep the wife somewhat happy. So it's like, hey, I'm going down to do 3 different podcasts this week. I got to spread it out. So I appreciate the invite as always. I'm sure I'll expect another one in the off season. I can let you know that Tyson flaked quite a bit on going to a game this year. He said he was supposed to. And then also, we planned on last podcast, hey, we'll go to Dropkick Murphys or something like that. And then he texted me like he texted me like 4 minutes before. Hey, you want to come in an hour? I'm like, dude, I need a warning here. Man.
It's so not true. It's so not true.
When I have proof, I can always just go back and just scroll through and show. But no, I appreciate the invite. I always enjoy doing the podcast, and obviously, hopefully, before the draft, we can link up again and talk.
We're gonna do a bunch of these prospects and.
That's fine, dude. I am. No.
Before we go, for those of you that don't know you, which I know is completely impossible because we're on all kinds of podcast networks, stuff like that. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, Joe RB31 on Twitter. I've been posting 30 to 40 plays of every game. Again, 30 plays about each of the quarterbacks. We're going a little bit more details. And then on YouTube, just Blewett Splits or Jets X Factor. Again, I'm putting out like a mini review of all of those guys this week. It'll be like 30 to 45 minutes, just giving you 5-6 good plays, 3 or 4 bad plays of each of the quarterbacks, kind of recapping their strengths and weaknesses and what I see. And then in the offseason, you'll get full-blown 2-part reviews, probably an hour or 2 long each of evaluating these guys and all of that stuff. It's more niche. I recognize that. But if you really want to, learn schematics or technique and stuff and why this player is not good or my thoughts on them and why I don't predict them to be good or whatever, then go to the channel.
Joe, thank you for your time. I always enjoy these, man. And in the off season, I'm gonna be hounding you because we got to analyze quarterbacks.
Cool.
You're gonna have all your hot takes. I'm just gonna argue with you, which is my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, no, dude, 100%. I am not afraid of the fire. I feel like a lot of people are, because like when you ask people follow-up questions, they can't answer it. Like, why do you think this guy is good? Well, he's just good, man. Like you see those NFL draft highlights, so no, I appreciate people getting on me and really ask me why I think things, because it makes me think deeply, but typically I have an answer for them. So I appreciate it. Hound me in the offseason all you want. Again, give me a month and we can figure out a day. Just, hey, next month, what's our day? Next month, what's our day? Draft, what's our day? We'll get it done. So don't worry about that.
Perfect. Thank you guys for watching. Oh, by the way, we have t-shirts and hoodies. The last day to order is tonight, so I'll make sure I share that link. I didn't do that. I blew it. I completely forgot. I'll share it now because I've just been busy, man. I got so many things going on right now. So we appreciate all the support, all the listens. Tomorrow night, I'll be on Ian's channel arguing with him about the future of the Jets and bouncing off the bye week. Joe, good talking to you, man, and we'll see everybody next week.
J-E-T-S-J-J